Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with more F1 Manager 24. Yes, I know I did a video on this game a couple of weeks ago and then it kind of went quiet on this channel. That's because all of my F1 Manager 24 content will be going live on Matt212 Plays. There's a link down in the description below. We've dived in, we've already started our My Team career mode, and obviously we've done a few other bits and pieces with this game. But the team over at Frontier came back to me and they said, you know, clearly I've obviously been enjoying the game lots. I've made plenty of videos on it already and there is plenty more to come. So they wanted to sponsor a video here on the channel as well. Obviously now that the game at the time this video goes live is fully released, you can play it obviously on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, even Nintendo Switch this year. And yes, even on Switch you get the full version of the game as well, which I think is really, really cool. But yeah, basically they turned around to me and kind of said obviously they wanted to do one extra video with you guys as well. So a massive thank you for the continued support on this series. And I thought obviously we've done a deep dive on the start of career mode. We've done a couple of other little videos here and there, but there is still one other feature that I really love on these games that I haven't jumped in and showcased so far in F1 Manager 24, and that is the race replay mode, or I rather call it kind of challenge mode, if you will, on this game, because basically on F1 Manager 24, you get some exclusive scenarios and you get the option to do race replays. So obviously we've got, I think, 5 exclusive scenarios inside the game that you can see obviously range in difficulty. So for example, Williams have got to try and score 12 points in Sao Paulo with loads of other cars that have already retired from the race. You've got like half a Grand Prix to do it. Or for example, at Imola, Ferrari have, well, Charles Leclerc looks to have bottled yet another Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix because he's Charles Leclerc, and that's kind of what happens. But yeah, I really like going through these challenges. I'm planning on playing even more of them inside F1 Manager 24, and also you get race replays. Now these are actually quite interesting because you get 2 options, 2 for the price of 1, where basically you can either go in and compete as any team trying to win the Grand Prix, or you get a different challenge as well that can be based on the real life racing as well. So today we're going to be taking on the first of these in F1 Manager 24 here from Sakir. Midway through the opening race, McLaren are fighting Mercedes for a top 5 finish. With pit stops still to make, tyre strategy will be crucial. Will an early pit stop onto fresh hard tyres be enough to undercut an edge ahead, or will extending the stint open up more options to attack later? Manage McLaren's race wisely to secure optimal points and get their season off to a flying start. So the goal in this first challenge is to try and score at least 16 points between the 2 drivers, which would be a 5th and a 7th place finish. I don't know whether fastest lap would be included in that as well, but yeah, let's head out onto the Bahrain circuit and we'll see how we get on. Well, here we are then, the show on the road. So basically, obviously, you get thrown into the middle of this race. And let's just take a quick pause then to assess everything that is going on. I'm also going to make some guides for F1 Manager 24 as well for you. You know, if you're sort of new to the game and don't really kind of know what you're doing, there's a lot of information. It is like the ultimate F1 nerdy dream. I absolutely love it. And I'm planning on sinking a fair amount of hours into F1 Manager 24 as well. Then Max Verstappen, to the surprise of probably nobody, leading the Grand Prix there with a bit of a margin over Sergio Perez. Carlos Sainz up in P3, not too far behind there with George Russell there. Charles Leclerc just a second behind his teammate. Lando Norris in P6, only a few more seconds back, with Oscar Piastri ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Right now, if things were to finish as they are, we would pick up 14 points from the Grand Prix, and you can see Hamilton, there's quite a back gap to Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda. Both drivers seem to be on pretty decent tyres, but it would not surprise me, obviously, if we need to make another stop before the end of the Grand Prix, as they've already been on this set for 17 laps so far. So it might be worth trying to box Oscar, and then obviously trying to undercut towards the end of the afternoon, and then maybe trying to go a little bit longer with Lando Norris, because again, I don't quite know just how far some of the other drivers have gone on their sets of tyres. Obviously, it's Bahrain, so there's no real chance of rain or anything like that around this circuit. Taking a look at some of the other race data then. So Leclerc is on exactly the same tyre life, the same for George Russell as Oscar Piastri. So yeah, Lando Norris has got a little bit of an advantage in that regard. And I mean, yeah, you get so many options as well. Obviously, you can look at lap history, tyre history, events, reports, and obviously the challenge brief once again, if somehow you've dived in and forgot what you were doing as well there. So yeah, I think what we're going to do, we're going to leave them out there for a few more laps at the very least. We've got half a charge of battery on both of the cars. So I think getting inside the DRS range for Lando is going to be really, really critical here, actually quite quickly. So we're going to set him up to push. And you can see, obviously, just like you've seen on the other games, you get, obviously, it's something ridiculous like 40,000 radio messages are in this game. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And it's so, so cool as well to see. So, yeah, Lando, I think we can afford to push on a bit more aggressively. Obviously, he has got a bit more tyre life than the cars around him. Obviously, we need to try and cut down that gap to Charles Leclerc in front. Now, obviously, all the races inside this game are usually 100% GPs. Obviously, we're doing a challenge, so it's not as long as normal. But you can speed it all up as well. Obviously, you get, you can fast forward it up. I think it's all the way to 16 times speed, isn't it? And obviously, kind of just watch the racing unfold in front. You also, obviously, have got loads of different camera angles as well. So, obviously, we've got the normal kind of side of the track cameras, the action cameras, things like that. We've then got a new heli cam, which I absolutely love. I think is a fantastic addition to the game as well. There is Charles Leclerc, such new fast lap of the day. Hopefully we have just beat that lap. There we go. Norris, I think that was a few tenths quicker as well. But other camera angles as well. Obviously you've got the normal sort of T-cam. You've got obviously the rear wing camera. And then obviously kind of on Lando's shoulder. Obviously front wing as well. And last but not least, the awesome but I found personally quite motion sickness inducing helmet camera as well there. If you really want to be fully immersed, you can basically sit with the driver for an entire Grand Prix if you feel that way inclined as well there. So Oscar Piastri, I think it's going to be really, really critical that we are utilising the battery as best as we can as well. Obviously, you don't want to let your drivers run out, so there is quite a lot of micromanagement now, especially in these kind of challenges, to really get the most out of the car. But we are also just waiting to see whether George Russell and Charles Leclerc are going to start battling a little bit more as well. So yeah, Lando just opting to take a little bit more out of his tyres right now. Oscar Piastri trying to close in on his teammate as well there. But of course, yes, strategy, I feel, is going to play quite an important role towards the end of the afternoon as well. So making sure, obviously, you've got that battery charger ready to go as and when you need it as well is going to be really, really critical towards the end of the afternoon. Now, one thing I have found inside this year's game, more than I've ever really noticed before, is how actually viable 2- and 3-stop races are. This game really does put quite an emphasis on, making that extra pit stop, boxing for a set of soft tyres, being 1.5, 2 seconds, 2, even 3 seconds on some occasions, a lap quicker than some of your rivals around you. And yeah, 2 and 3 stops, it actually makes the racing very, very exciting as well. Now, obviously, they use quite a lot of real-world data inside this game as well. There's all kinds of, data that you get before you head into a Grand Prix. And it's even, obviously, when you're in a race, the amount of extra stuff as well you've got access to. So, obviously, grip levels, how rugged in the circuit is, obviously, how much rain is on the track as well, what's going to be happening to the track in the not-too-distant future, and, of course, yeah, with all your drivers as well. As you can see, we are taking good time out to George Russell in front. Obviously, you get to tell Lando how much he needs to push, and he also obviously has a driver confidence tracker as well, though. So the more confident he is, the more likely it is that he's going to be able to make moves as well later on in the race. Now, Hamilton behind us, he is also on a set of hards, so it might be worth trying to box Oscar, potentially sort of around lap 40. And obviously we'll try and get him to go on probably set of mediums to the end of the race. I'm tempted to try and keep Lando out here, though. He might be able to go right to the end of the afternoon and hopefully won't, therefore, get undercut by, if George Russell obviously decides to pit, then hopefully he's going to have a big enough margin over the Mercedes man, obviously, to hold on to that position. Obviously, all we're really looking for is that Oscar can hang on and obviously that Lando can gain the one place over that first of the Mercedes cars here. Now, like I said, Some of these are based on real-world data. You know, some of these challenges, for example, last year we had a brilliant one at Monaco where Fernando Alonso, it was basically obviously when he was trying to, when he should have boxed for intermediate tyres and won the Monaco Grand Prix, you could basically do that inside the game, which is obviously fantastic fun as well. There is, I think, Lando now is tucked up behind George Russell. He's going to have the DRS back down in towards turn 1. So I am going to try and set him up to go for the overtake mode. Overtake aggression is going to be set to high, so hopefully as he gains a bit of speed back down in towards that first corner, he is going to try and complete that move there as closing in on George Russell. He'll go. Lando Norris sitting inside. Russell's going to try and defend it. The AI are a lot more dynamic this year in kind of the way they wheel-to-wheel battle with each other, but a nice move around the outside there by Lando Norris. Gets us up into the position we need, and that is really, really good at this stage of the afternoon. As, there we go, Lando really happy with that one as well. And Will Joseph, his engineer, obviously providing him with some useful feedback as well. There, obviously, you get all the replays and things like that, like we've seen in previous games as well there. But yeah, Lando Norris then moving up into P5 of this race, and it's going to be interesting to see whether we can close in on Charles Leclerc as well before this afternoon is done and dusted. I'm going to get Oscar Piastri to push on a little bit more as well. You can see, obviously, tyre management, tyre temperature management has been a really big talking point throughout real life in 2024 as well. Obviously, we've seen that McLaren is generally very good at managing its tyre temperature as well. Obviously, allowed them to win back in Miami. So you've really got to balance that. If you start overheating the tyres, you really are going to lose a lot of time. As Sergio Perez then into the pit lane. So we're actually going to move up then into P4 temporarily of the Grand Prix. As Perez, what tyres has he moved on to then? Ready towards the end of the afternoon. He's actually gone back to a set of softs, so I think he might be, surely he's not going to box again before this race is down and out, but that's going to be very, very interesting then to see how Perez gets on with that set of the tyres. I wanted, like I said, take Oscar Piastri to about lap 40, just over, and then we'll bolt on a set of mediums to hopefully see him through to the end of the GP. But at the moment, yeah, Lando Norris seems to still have a little bit of extra pace over Charles Leclerc. Like we said, obviously he's pushing on that set of tyres a little bit more as well, but I think it is probably better that we try and get him to stay where he is. So, yeah, obviously we've got the objective as well. It's telling you right now, obviously, if things were to finish as they are, would we complete the objective? Which, of course, yeah, in 4th and 7th, we would score enough points. But, yeah, you can see we want to just try and slowly close in on Charles, and obviously then utilise that DRS when we get the opportunity to. It doesn't look like Hamilton has really got the pace over Oscar Piastri as well, which is obviously really, really useful at this stage of the day. But of course, Hamilton, he might be trying to go to the end of the afternoon. His tyres still pretty much in as bad shape as Oscar's there. And George Russell seems to actually be the front runner with some issues at this stage of the evening. So looking pretty good at this stage then, so we'll just fast forward a little bit. Obviously, the last thing we have got to just focus on is making sure that Norris has got enough tyre and enough fuel to get to the end of the Grand Prix as well there. But a podium would be fantastic news until, of course, Sergio Perez has really closed in. As there we go, George Russell now peels into the pit lane here. So Perez is probably going to make the move very soon. We're going to obviously bring Lando back off of his overtake mode. It is really, really important because obviously what you find is Perez will move past him. Lando will then try and overtake. It won't work because he's on much older tyres. And then obviously he'll lose confidence as well there. See, he's got very, very high confidence right now. That might just got knocked slightly because obviously, yeah, he's moved back down into P4. There is Piastri up into 6th place. What tyre has Russell gone to then? Seems to the end of the race. He's gone medium, so I think Perez is going to box again before the end of this race. So we should be able to freely pit Oscar Piastri pretty soon in this GP. It really is just a case of whether Lando can make it through to the checkered flag. It's going to be very, very tight, actually, for our number 1 driver. His tyres are going to be very, very much destroyed. So it might be worth hedging our bets. Box Oscar, even like I said, onto his set of onto the set of the mediums. Lando, if we could take him to like lap 45, go to a set of fresh soft compound tyres, and then obviously just go to the end. As Oscar, yeah, just starting to get a little bit worried there. So what we're going to do with Oscar is we're going to tell him to box over onto a fresh set of mediums, but we are going to tell him to box next lap then. So hopefully, you know, that's just a really, really good little feature. I know it was on last year's game, but I think it's just really, really helpful as well. And obviously, yeah, we'll see when Oscar dives into the pit lane. He has got a little bit of extra fuel, so we'll use that up quickly as well. Obviously, there's no point. There's no point just carrying extra fuel to the end of a Grand Prix. It makes you slower, and obviously you may as well burn it because you'll go quicker. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but both of them, you know, to your benefit as well. There is, yeah, Russell should be going to the end. Magnussen, Stroll should be going to the end. Perez won't be going to the end, so he's got a box again, but annoyingly I think so will us. So it might not make so much of a difference. But yeah, Oscar Piastri, though, at the end of this lap, is going to be peeling into that pit lane then. So we'll have a quick look. We'll ride on board with him, just showcase what it looks like when the AI are into the pits. Both Ferraris are in. So I'm not too sure why Ferrari are double stacking. I guess it's Ferrari, isn't it? Of course, that's why they're double stacking. But Oscar Piastri then making his way down into the lane. One of the other really cool things I love inside this year's game is apparently, at the end of Season 1, the championship order will now actually affect where you are down the pit lane in terms of your grid boxes, which is such a ridiculously nerdy feature that I absolutely love, and I want to see implemented onto the Cody's F1 games as well there, because F1 Manager, it really does push the envelope. It really does kind of showcase what can be done with an F1 game. You know, people have always said, oh, you know, the FOM are really, really strict with everything. Clearly, they're not so strict with a lot of things. Clearly, you know, there is a little bit of leeway to do what they want with it as well. There is obviously, yeah, Oscar making his way back at the pits, though. He's got to build up temperature back in those tyres, so it's going to be really, really critical that he actually pushes up. Just tries to go on a little bit more aggressively over the next couple of laps. As Lando Norris, yeah, you can see there is a lot of pace discrepancy in everything right now. But yeah, Lando Norris, we're going to try and get him a few more laps so we can go soft tyres to the end of the race and then really try and make a charge at Charles Leclerc here. So we're actually going to put him on full attack mode to hopefully negate any kind of disadvantage we've got. So yeah, we're going to just make him really, really push on for a couple more laps towards the end of this stint. Take everything he possibly can out of this tyre there. And obviously, yeah, the other one is Fernando Alonso. He will have to pit as well. Yeah, so Lando as well, obviously just starting to get towards the end of that useful tyre life, as you would expect at this stage of the Grand Prix there. And I mean, if things were to finish as they are, we would actually... Lando Norris would score the points we need, which is pretty good. As Alonso then dives into the pit lane, so I guess that's one less driver that we need to worry about as well there. Obviously, we'll monitor the gaps. We've got 15 seconds over Leclerc. That gap obviously will come down before the end of the stint, but hopefully not too badly. As, yeah, obviously Lando, hopefully... I mean, if we could snooker away fastest lap as well, right towards the end of this, that extra bonus point could be really, really crucial here, right towards the end of the afternoon. As Oscar's come back ahead of Fernando Alonso, so we just also see as well Alonso lose a bit of time over the course of this lap, obviously, as he's got to try and build up temperature back in his tyres as well. There is Max Verstappen from the lead of the Grand Prix. He's going softs to the end of the GP. So, yeah, he's looking pretty good. I mean, he's absolutely dominated this one. I've had a few races inside this game where Max Verstappen has absolutely wiped the floor with everybody. He's just ridiculously OP still. So hopefully we're going to see a few more patches obviously implemented in the near future, which will kind of bring his pace back a little bit. Red Bull, obviously, you know, they can't do it perfectly, but Red Bull do definitely still seem a little bit more OP than they should be inside this game right now. But ultimately, you know, that is something that I'm sure will be fixed in a patch very, very soon. But yeah, with everyone else in the box, I'm getting a bit worried about how badly we're going to get undercut. So we're going to put Lando into the pits at the end of this one. And we're then going to make sure, obviously, that he's got a little bit of charge on the way back out. And hopefully he can try and get the jump on a few other cars as well there. So, yeah, Lando doing a really good job at this stage of the day. Hopefully it's going to open him up strategy-wise against Leclerc towards the end of the afternoon, as Oscar Piastri just building up a little bit of a gap as well over Fernando Alonso. 7th place for him would be really, really useful come the end of the day. So yeah, Lando Norris then probably going to be one of the last cars to pit in this Grand Prix, but it is just a question of how far behind Charles Leclerc he's going to be. It's the graphics still. That's always something. You do get that. You do get that a lot. Damn it, man. 8.5 second stop.
looks like a pit stop issue.
That is so annoying. So annoying. Let's see what Crofty's got to say about it.
We see Norris boxing.
So annoying.
Just can't loosen the rear right.
So you do obviously get, yeah, those comms as well from Karun Chandok and Crofty as well, which is always quite nice. You know, just adds a little bit more immersion. Obviously, for me, he's trying to put me out of a job. But I guess, you know, that is the nature of the beast. So Lando's got a lot of work to do then before the end of the afternoon. He's going to really try and take a little bit out of these tyres on this opener. As, yeah, Oscar as well just starting to cook his rubber behind. So we'll bring it back down to standard mode. As Hamilton, you can see, closing in. But he is locked into battle with Fernando Alonso as well there. So hopefully Oscar's going to be safe for P7. Hopefully we're going to be able to take a little bit of time out of George Russell. So yeah, we're really going to try and push on this lap. Make sure we get back into the position we need to be before the end of the afternoon. And we're going to try to set fastest lap of the day, because that one bonus point could prove critical here by the end of the afternoon. So important that he just has got a little bit of charge in the battery. You can see we're already taking time out of George Russell, so getting these tyres back up to temperature. But yeah, we want to try and push on with them for one lap here, and hopefully really try and carve in that gap on Russell as well then. So Norris looking pretty good. He's hopefully just going to have a little bit of a safer race towards the end. Lando's really the one we've got to try and push with. So yeah, Lando now happy with the tyres, so let's go deploy for one lap here around this circuit. Lance Stroll currently the fastest lap. I think actually, no, this is going to be pointless, isn't it? Verstappen, he's on fresh tyres as well. It's irrelevant. Verstappen will claim that fastest lap anyway. But I guess we'll try it. Maybe the Dutchman's not going to go for it for some reason. But yeah, I would have thought if I had to put money on anybody, it'll be Verstappen, who would probably snook his way fastest lap bonus point by the end of the afternoon. I want to make sure that Oscar just stays ahead of Lewis Hamilton as well. So I think what we'll do is just get him to push a little bit more. Go into a slight fuel deficit because, yeah, the DRS still is very, very powerful inside this game. So I think, yeah, if we can just make sure that that Oscar stays away from Hamilton towards the end of the afternoon, that could be really, really useful as well here. I mean, that gap to Russell has come down so much so quickly as well here. Hopefully we'll get inside the DRS range ready for turn 1 again. And obviously we can just try and make it clear to Lando that he can go for the overtake. So yeah, we're not really pulling away from Hamilton though. This is the annoying bit at the moment, as we have pretty much drained the battery this lap. So yeah, it is really kind of a one run and we're done kind of fastest lap attempt here. We aren't really going to have time to recharge the pack and go for it again towards the end of the afternoon. So yeah, we'll put it back into neutral then. We'll bring it back down into a balanced mode. But he's pretty much there with Russell. So that's going to be really, really good towards the end of the race then. And we'll do the same with Oscar, just to make sure that we're managing him as best as we can as well there. So you can already see immediately, just drop a little bit back. Obviously, as you just try and bring those tyres back down into a comfortable temperature. They only need to drop a few more degrees though, and then we should be good with those. So hopefully we're still going to be sticking with George Russell like glue towards the end of this race. How are the tyres looking for others? I mean, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, especially Sergio Perez, he'll definitely still be ahead of us by the end of the afternoon. But they aren't going to be comfortable on their sets of tyres either here towards the end of the race. So that's going to be really, really critical for them. As Russell just... Oh, we got yellows. Zhou Guan Yu's gone round. So there is still that little element of RNG as well. So you could end up with a safety car or something like that. Zhou Guan Yu struggling to get to grips with the Kick-Sauber. And you can see there, yeah, you do get those comms by the other drivers as well when they've made an error. So what we're going to do, we're going to tell Lando once again to get on the overtake. Hopefully that's going to obviously put us back in prime position. And yeah, obviously we're right on board with him as well as he makes his way then out onto the back straight. 10 laps to go here from the Bahrain Grand Prix. And you can see it's hopefully going to be quite a simple move for Lando Norris down the inside. He'll look... George Russell, yeah, I think he knows at the moment it's not really a fight that he can win. He's got to just play his own game towards the end of the afternoon and hope that Lando's tyres really do start to hit the cliff. As whether Charles Leclerc's got a pit again or not is a very different question. We've got more yellows out again. I can't see anybody stopped on the circuit. No, it's Oscar. It's Oscar, I think, has made an error. And that's really annoying. That is really annoying. Oh, that's really not good. Oscar Piastri has potentially put us in a bad spot here now. I think at the moment we would still score 12 points. And obviously we need 14 from this challenge there. So, oh no, was it 14? I think it was 16, wasn't it? Yeah, we need 16 points. So Oscar Piastri does need that 7th place. So he's going to have to try and push back up and get closer to those cars again. Or we can hope that Lando Norris is able to close in on those two in front of him. We're surely not going to lose our very first challenge on this game. As Lando there trying to defend from Russell. If he can defend this up the top of the hill, which he can, that should be good. We hopefully now are going to be safe there. Now we've just got to pray that those Ferraris have to box again before the end of the race, because we are in trouble right now. Oscar Piastri might well have bottled this just a little bit. We need to get him back in the range of those cars in front. Deary me, Oscar. He's put us under a load of pressure now towards the end of this race, as Alonso seems to just be cooking along right now. He's obviously warmed up those tyres as well by going for that spin. So yeah, we need to keep him stable. We can't afford to overcook those tyres even more right now. We just got to try and close back in on those other cars around us there, as Russell is really starting to apply pressure to Lando Norris as well. So these are critical moments inside this Grand Prix. We should have slightly better tyres. We haven't even got better tyres than the two in front of us either. So Oscar Piastri, yeah, he really is in trouble towards the end of this race. He's just got to try and push on, keep those tyres in a good window, and then hopefully we can try and attack with him a little bit more right towards the end here. But yeah, this is not looking good at this stage of the day. I think, yeah, we can't even rely on Perez to box and come out ahead of him either, because I think Sergio has just about got enough as well. As are we going to see Russell attacking? No, I think Lando has just about got enough there to keep him at bay right now. So this is all on Oscar Piastri towards the end of the afternoon. He's got to try and get back in that range of Hamilton in front. So we've got to just try and balance the aggression towards the end. But yeah, I mean, obviously Hamilton's losing pace to Alonso as well. So this is really, really critical towards the end of the day, that he doesn't drop too far back. That he means we're not in a situation where we can try and fight with the Aston Martin as well. He's able to save a little bit of battery pretty decently lap after lap. But yeah, these challenges just take so much micromanagement as well. There, it is really, really critical that you get absolutely everything out of the car every single time here. So hopefully we can try and get that gap down under 2 seconds. And then obviously we'll try and get inside the DRS range, and that should hopefully be quite a nice, simple move. But still, yeah, getting a little bit worried towards the end of this race that we're not quite going to get enough out of Oscar Piastri here. I don't think we can really afford to box again either and try to do something with that. Because I'm not sure how Stroll's kept fastest lap bonus point, to be honest. Maybe if Oscar fails to make inroads, then we can try and box him for fastest lap bonus point. But ultimately, that would require Norris to be up in the podium places, which I don't think is going to happen right now. Russell's dropped out of the range, which is good. But I just think Mercedes are really, really struggling here towards the end of the afternoon. So if we can get back up to 8th, then that would be nice. 8th and 4th would be enough to grant us those points we need. But yeah, we basically are just praying that one of those Ferraris has to box before the end of this race. And I mean, looking at the wear at the moment, I'm really not convinced that's going to happen. 66% for Sainz, 67% for Leclerc. I mean, Lando's got better tyres than the pair of them, but yeah, I'm really not confident right now, as we'll just try and see if Oscar is still taking time out of Lewis Hamilton in front. See, he does lose a little bit down the straights, but that gap is generally still going the right way, and hopefully now we can see Oscar Piastri have that DRS out of the final corner. Nope, I don't want to pit. I want to make sure he goes on to attack mode again. Come on, Oscar. Overtake aggression high. He's lost confidence recently. He's got to be able to push on and get back past this Merc. Back down into turn 1. Is he going to look for it? He thinks about a big lunge. He thinks about a big lunge there down into the first corner, but unable to make it happen that time round. He's got a bit of battery again, so we'll try and deploy on the exit of the corner. Surely he's going to be able to try and get the run there. Down the inside of Lewis Hamilton into the braking zone. It's a big old send, but he's made it work. Oscar Piastri back up into P8 of the Grand Prix, so this is critical at the moment. Russell seems to be really dropping away as well, so I think Russell seems to be in big trouble in that second Mercedes car right now. The gap's up to 5 seconds to Lando Norris in front of him, but that is a critical move by Oscar Piastri towards the end of the afternoon, and maybe, just maybe, it's going to be George Russell that we're closing in on before this race is done and dusted there. We've got to just bring the tires back down, because, yeah, we are cooking those at the moment. Lando, he's going to be tight on fuel by the end, but I think he should just about have enough here towards the end of the Grand Prix. And you can see, yeah, Alonso, he's taking a fair old chunk of time out of Russell as our Hamilton's goes back past us. So we need to try and make sure that we get back round him again on this very next lap. So out onto the back straight we'll go. He's still got that overtake aggression set to high. We need to try and get him back in a position he's comfortable with. Here we go. Oscar Piastri again down the inside. Beautiful. Done and dusted there as Alonso. Yeah, he's taking a lot of time out of Russell. Oscar will just have to try and push on with just to get him away from Lewis Hamilton ever so slightly. And hopefully then that gap will open up towards the end of the afternoon as well there. 3/4 of a second should hopefully be enough. Obviously, we can afford to put him ever so slightly under on the fuel as well over this next lap or so. But Russell, he is the big question mark still towards the end of the afternoon. As that time around, yeah, we've just about got enough back down to turn 1. Will we have enough, though, as we make our way back up the hill? Yes, we will. So hopefully he's going to be safe there. And we can bring Oscar back down in line once again then. I mean, we've taken... The annoying thing is at the moment, I'm just not convinced we're taking enough out of Russell towards the end of the race. We're going to have to just go back on the aggression again there. Alonso's easily going to get to him by the end of the afternoon, but I'm just not convinced Russell... yeah, I'm not convinced Oscar's going to be able to do the same thing there. The gap to Alonso is actually staying pretty even, but we need to be going like a second quicker than Fernando right now. Otherwise, yeah, George is just about going to be able to hang on, and that spin might be the real difference maker here come the end of the afternoon as Hamilton again trying to look down the inside. To the outside he'll go at turn 1. And Oscar Piastri again there hopefully is going to be able to use the deploy. I mean, this is just costing them both so much time at this stage of the day. It is really, really frustrating here as Max Verstappen, just 4 laps to go of this Grand Prix, and the gap's still 6 seconds between Oscar Piastri and George Russell here. I mean, I don't know what's going on with George, but those tyres really are hitting the cliff. I mean, could we see a proper Ferrari strategy before the end of the afternoon? That's the other real question we've got at this stage of the day, is hopefully again, I mean, we're just not close enough. We're just not close enough to Hamilton out onto that straight there, so I think we'll have to try and top up the charge just a little bit. And yeah, we're just not able to do anything right now. This is really, really disappointing. We need someone up the road to run into problems. Oh, there we go. Russell now has lost the place to Alonso. So if we can get back past Lewis, we can really just try and go for it here towards the end of the race. Like I said, I've got no idea what's going on. It's just trying to save a little bit of battery. We need a second a lap over Russell still, and we're spending time battling his teammate. This is not good. This is really not good at this stage of the day. As Alonso new fastest lap. Come on, Oscar, you've got to be able to make the move this time around. He's just not gaining enough. Is it worth sitting in behind Lewis, hoping he can take the time out of his teammate here towards the end? I think we've got to be completely honest. So what we'll do is we'll sit in behind. We'll just put the overtake aggression down, and we'll see whether Hamilton can take the time out of his teammate, and then maybe we can get both of them in one go here, right towards the end of the race. I mean, Russell, he's definitely got some kind of mechanical issue. That gap now down less than 4 seconds here. So we'll keep just monitoring it as we go around. We'll try and make sure that Oscar doesn't do anything too aggressive too early. We'll just try and save a little bit of fuel as well there, but make sure, of course, that he stays inside the DRS of Lewis Hamilton as well here, as that gap just floats up to a second momentarily. It is a fine, fine balance here towards the end of the afternoon. It is a big, big gamble towards the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix, but this is genuinely, this is so close right now towards the end of the race. So close. It could really come down to the wire here between 3 cars battling for that final point. And ultimately, I don't really want our first ever challenge mode inside this game to end up with no success either, which would be quite the shame by the end of this one. 3 seconds now between Hamilton and George Russell. Yeah, Oscar's really, really struggling with those tyres as well, so I think Lando's pretty safe. Lando is safe towards the end of the afternoon, but I mean, yeah, we've got to try and deal with some slower traffic as well, and that's really cost us little bit of slower traffic there as well. Rather frustrating. So, I mean, we've got 2 laps to go. I think we just got to try and go for it here, haven't we? Is Lando Norris. I think he will only just save the fuel by the end of the race there. But we've got to go for it on Lewis Hamilton again. Overtake aggression is going to be set to high. We've got to get Lewis this time around, and then we've got to try and use the battery to close in on George Russell. If we can get inside that DRS window, then surely we've got an opportunity into the final lap there. But still the gap, 2.8 seconds. Has Russell just hung onto his tyres enough towards the end of the Grand Prix there? Is down the inside. We're going to try and have a look. Oh, Lewis Hamilton defends it beautifully in towards that first corner. Now we've got to try and use the deploy. We should be able to hang on to it towards the end of the race there if we can get past Hamilton now. But all of this battling is costing the pair of us so much time there. Down the inside we're going to go on Lewis Hamilton. Now we've just got to try and break free. We're just a handful of laps left of this race. Max Verstappen is on the last lap of the Grand Prix. So what we can hope, is that Russell really struggles to get around some of these other cars as well. There is Piastri immediately trying to pull away from Lewis as well. The gap's still 3 seconds. Surely we're not going to really be able to do anything here into the final lap. We're going to put him on full attack mode, though. We've got to try and go for something here late on in the day. And this is the harsh brutality as well with F1 Manager. Sometimes bad luck just gets in the way and you can't do anything come the end of an afternoon. The gap down to 2. It is still coming down to George Russell. Come on. I'm not going to give up until we get round to that checkered flag there, as Oscar is using pretty much all of his available battery right now. But we've still just got to try and find a little bit more. 1.9 seconds. If we can get it under 1.5 onto that final lap, I think we might have an opportunity. And you can see that gap is down to 1.4 seconds here. We've just got to try and get in the range of George Russell. And then maybe we can try and go for something somewhere, anywhere on this final lap of the Grand Prix. This is going to be so close towards the end of this race. Oscar Piastri, 1 second that gap is now down to. He'll get it under the 1 second zone by the time he gets into that detection point. So it is going to be free time as he makes his way back up the hill. But I don't think that's going to be where we're going to be able to make the move. I think we're just going to have to sit in, claim the DRS, and just try and make sure that we save up the battery pack as well. Ready to go for one last-ditch run down the back straight there. Max Verstappen is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. But at the moment, we have got bigger things on our minds. 0.6 of a second. This gap is now down to between Oscar and George. We've got lap traffic in the way as well. Hopefully they are going to get out of the way as soon as possible. There is still half a second between George and the Australian here. We've got to go for the overtake as soon as we get the chance down the back straight. But George is going to have the DRS as well. This is really bad for us late on here, as George Russell is going to have the traction out onto that back straight there. He's going to have the DRS off of the Alpine as well there. Are we going to have any possible window to try and go for something towards the end of this? We're still under on the fuel as well. It is coming right down to the wire between Russell and Oscar Piastri. Are we going to be able to do anything into the very last corner of this Grand Prix? He's just lost out a little bit there out of the penultimate turn. Are we going to be close enough to go for anything? George Russell, I think, has got enough. Oscar Piastri has cooked the tyres, and out of the final corner, it's P5 and P8. We aren't going to have enough. Oscar Piastri crawls to the line. Will he even finish? No, he won't. Oh, no. We ran out of fuel at the line as well. That's how close we cut it in the end. It wasn't enough. Safety car has been deployed despite the fact the race is over. Hamilton jumps Oscar Piastri. What a disappointing end to that challenge. I cannot believe that.
Lando Norris, currently on our screens, heads back to his team.
A 5th place finish ensures they're taking away a fair few points from this one.
And no doubt, Verstappen fans will be celebrating the Dutchman's achievement. And we've certainly kicked things off in style, here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. And that is about that for this weekend's action here in Bahrain.
The teams now look ahead to the next round, where they'll duel it out in the sand dunes of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, that is gutting. That is absolutely gutting. My first ever challenge inside this game, and Oscar Piastri bottled it for us. What a disappointing one when all is said and done there. But I tell you what, that was so much fun nonetheless. And it was so close right towards the end of the real race there as well. You can see Lando Norris, he was one better position than he did IRL. Oscar Piastri, one position worse than he did IRL there. But had we just saved a little bit more fuel, we would have done better than McLaren did in real life. But that is exactly just, you know, how much fun can be had inside F1 Manager 24. They really have made a load of good changes to the game this year. And, you know, it's got me back playing it as well. Even more as well. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. Once again, a massive thank you to the team over at Frontier for providing me with early access and sponsoring today's video as well. Play F1 Manager, it's great fun. And before I forget to mention as well, for a fully new released game, you can get the Ultimate Edition, I think, for £35. The standard game that just doesn't come with all the exclusive scenarios is £30. It's an absolute steal, you know, when you're paying £70, £80 now for new releases as well of video games. But yeah, we'll be back very soon with more Formula 1 content.